Hello, Two-Ton here for the first official episode, after the intro, of course, of Two-Ton's Epiphany. And this episode, I'm going to focus on where I think the weight came from. In fact, I know where the weight came from. And direct result of my childhood. There's a lot of factors, but I think there's one in particular, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So, a little background about where I grew up. I'm one of 6 kids. I was born in 1973 in New York on Long Island. And in 1977, when I was a wee toddler, our family bought a house in eastern Long Island. And my childhood growing up in this neighborhood, I actually have memories of when I was like 4 or 5, 6 years old. Um, wasn't a bad town, you know. I had a lot of siblings. There's 6 of us. My dad was a working guy, working man, a family man. He and my mother, you know, had a handful with the 6 of us, but you know, we managed. It was a middle class neighborhood, and you know, all in all, my childhood was good. Except, you know, I think a lot of people have like a defining moment in their life when when they think that something might have changed their course or changed their attitude or like changed them as a person. And you know, I had some weight issues growing up, and you know, up and down. My grandmother used to complain that I put too much butter on my bread at family Thanksgivings and stuff. So, but you know, it was all done out of love, right? So, but when I was in school growing up, 8, 9, 10 years old, I was heavy and I was bullied relentlessly. And I, in turn, bullied my siblings because, you know, you act out when that shit happens. But, you know, for me, I think, the primary thing that created the weight issues I have was essentially um, something that happened to me when I was 11. And, you know, after being bullied in school and all this other stuff, you know, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be liked. And it was important to me to be accepted. And I was a pleaser. I was a follower. You know, I wasn't like a leader among my friends. You know, I was the fat kid. And, you know, in the neighborhood where I grew up, I had friends. You know, I had friends who were, you know, who liked me and we hung out all the time. Um, when I was 11, 1984, summer of 84, I'm pretty sure, um, there were a friend of mine from across the street from me and we were hanging out with these 2 kids. They were brothers and they were older than us. They were like 15 or 16 and maybe 13. And I was 11. And so we were just hanging out with them. You know, we were bored and we were walking around and you know, even when we were hanging out with them, it was important for me to kind of be liked and accepted. So we just kind of did our thing. We started exploring. We're walking around. Uh, we walked a couple of miles, you know, through the woods, and we even crossed the parkway and through to the woods on the other side. This was near Brookhaven National Laboratory, Long Island. There's a wooded area over there, so it's way out east on Long Island. So we get into the woods, and you know, let me just set up real quick. These 2 brothers, um, they came from uh, the scummiest, trashiest fucking family in the entire neighborhood. Um, they were aggressive, violent. Um, I think their father was a drunk and beat them, but they in turn took out all their aggression on the neighborhood kids. They were huge, huge violent bullies. Every kid in the neighborhood was afraid of them, and they were basically the scumbag white trash of the neighborhood, and just the worst of the worst. But this day, we were just hanging. You know, they weren't in a constant state of violence against people. Sometimes they appeared reasonable and friendly and things, but they had their dark side, and it was pitch fucking black. So we're walking with these kids, right? And there's four of us. It's me, my friend, and the two brothers. So we go into the woods here, and we're a couple of miles from my house. I'd say three, maybe 2 or 3 miles. You know, it took us an hour to get there. We're just exploring. So as we're in the woods, we come up to this. It's like an abandoned house, and it was decrepit and had no windows, and you could smell the house from like far away. It was really old, and there was a shed in the back, a lot of trees. So we're just bullshitting, walking around. We walk inside, and there's like clothes and beer bottles and garbage everywhere, pizza boxes and cigarette butts and um, like dirty mattresses on the floor, and I think I remember seeing like condom wrappers. So it was like a teenage hangout. Kids would go there and do their thing. So we're looking around and walking around, and not long after we got there, and I realize this now as I'm telling the story, the two brothers separated me and my friend. The older brother took me to the shed, and the younger brother had my friend up in the house. And when he brought me into the shed, he immediately dropped his pants and told me that I had to suck his penis or he's going to kill me. It's very weird. You're like what? What did you say? But he he looked very angry. Had this rage face on. It's like he turned. He said, "He goes, do it. Suck it." And I was like, "No, I'm not doing it." And the threats of violence were very convincing. At first, I was, resistant. He grabbed me by my shirt, and then he actually tried to force it into my mouth. And I was like, "Okay, okay, stop, stop." He's like, "Come on, do it." It was very, it was weird. People say, "Oh, things happen in slow motion." This was like fast motion. It was like it happened very quickly. But thinking back, I was in that shed with him for probably 10 minutes. That's a long, long fucking time when you're 11. And, there were all hanging tools in the shed and like rakes and hose and things. So to protect my life, I truly believed he was going to hurt me or kill me. There was like a cot there or a table or something, and it had an old nasty blanket on it. He said, "If you don't do this, I'm gonna put you on that. I'm gonna fucking kill you. Fucking do it." So I did it. This was my moment when this happened to me. And you know, at the time, I kind of, it was weird because when it was done, and it went on for minutes and minutes at a time, and he did not finish. For him, I think it was more of like just a game to see if he can get this stupid fat kid to suck his dick because he was a predator, 100%. And to this day, I know where this guy lives now. I know where he lives. I'll explain that later. But he's got 4 kids, and always in the back of my head, I wonder, you know, I doubt his kids know what he did when he was 16 years old, and I cringe, and it almost makes me cry to wonder if he did that to his kids or if they saw him do something in that way. But I digress a little bit. Anyway, um, after about 8 or 10 minutes, we leave the shed, and he pulls up and zips up. And at this time, I'm kind of like, okay, that was really weird. What just happened? And then I remember my hands were kind of shaking a little bit. So I walk out, and I'm kind of in a daze, and I look up. I look up into the house, and I see my friend. He's kind of sticking his head out the window. He's like, we got to go. let's go. We got to go. And I had no idea that he was having the same thing happen to him by the younger brother. Or I don't know exactly what happened in that house, but I assume now that was probably the same thing because what they did, these fucking animals, what they did is they switched. And now the younger brother, he came to me, and the older brother went with my friend. So now we're just standing in the backyard, and this younger brother, this fucking Weasley little scumfuck, he did the same thing. He pulled his pants down, he unzipped himself. He goes, come on, fucking suck it, fucking. He was very adamant. He didn't threaten me with violence. I think he said something like, you know, come on, fat boy. And I couldn't hear anything going on up in the house. I couldn't hear a thing. And so I was like, "Oh, are you serious? Are you kidding me?" And it's like then he grabbed me by the shirt, and then he started to like threaten me with violence. He goes, "I'm gonna punch you in the fucking face. Come on, you fat fuck, suck my fucking dick." This is what he was saying to me. It's like, "Are you kidding me?" So I kneeled down, and I didn't want to do it, but I licked my finger and like touched it with my finger, thinking he would think I was doing it with my mouth because I wasn't going to do it a second time. And then he gave me a big, hard smack right across the side of my head. And it kind of knocked me to the floor. And that was when I realized that the shit was getting violent and this was wrong. Everything that was happening was wrong. Because at first in the shed, I was like, what is going on here? And so after he hit me, that's when my friend came down the stairs and he just kind of started to walk away. And he turned and he looked at me and he gave me this look like with his eyes. And I think he kind of nodded his head like, let's go, like now. And I just got up and started walking. And, the two brothers, they didn't chase us down and, attack us or anything. We all just kind of started walking home. It was over and it was dead silent. We didn't speak to each other. Um, my friend, he walked alongside me, then he walked in front of me, then he was behind me. We didn't say a word. And so, it was weird. And as we walk home, the two evil scumfucks went to their shithole house. And me and my friend, who lived directly across from each other, we went to our houses. And I remember telling my mom what happened. I explained it to her. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I told her what went down. And I told her who I was with, my friend. And she freaked. She absolutely freaked out. So now it's like, oh, and she calls this kid's mom, the friend across the street. And, my friend comes over and now my friend and I are explaining to my mom what happened. And I remember my friend just kind of sitting at the end of the table and he didn't say much, but he just kind of nodded yes or no to the questions. And that, my dad had gotten home at that time from work, or it might even have been a Saturday. I don't know. So this is kind of where things started to get hazy. And then what happened next, right after the little hazy bit, was like imprinted in my brain forever. This next moment, it's like a branding, like a hot fucking brand that goes on the back of cattle. This shit was burned into my head. So my mother and father take me over to the evil scumfuck's house, and we go up the steps, and you know my mother's knocking on the door, and remember like I was shaking. I was like, oh god, this what's gonna happen? So he opens the door, and it's the father, and huge, ugly, brooding man, just big bushy hair and a wife beater, and he had a big thick beard. He was just, he looked like exactly what you think he looked like a cross between like a silverback gorilla and Ron Jeremy. He was just big, nasty fuck. And he, when my mother started talking to him, and I don't even remember, it was like the Peanuts, like wonk, 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 wonk. I didn't hear anything. I couldn't hear what she was saying to him. It was just all weird. And then I hear him call to one of the brothers, and it was the younger brother. He's like, "Get over here!" So I see the younger brother run to the top of the stairs, and he runs up and he starts yelling at the kid. Did you do that? You do this? I remember he fucking smacked him so hard it like hit him against the wall, and he started screaming and ran back to the bedroom. And that's, you know, I think I heard my mom say, I'm going to call the police or something. And then that's when the father, he just ran down the hallway after the kid. So we're like, okay, he's not talking to us anymore. He's going to go beat his kid, which I'm fine with, if I'm being honest. But, that was kind of the end of that. So my parents took us back to the house. My friend went back to his house, and we went in ours. And then um, that was the moment, sitting, like being on the stairs, watching the dad hit him and hearing him scream. That was the last moment that was like imprinted in my mind, because anything after that, I don't remember shit. I couldn't tell you what I had for dinner that night. I couldn't tell you what day of the week it was the day after. Uh, Nothing, nothing at all. It's 1984. I'm a fat 11-year-old. I couldn't even begin to tell you what happened after that, because that's where the blur happened. But I now kind of recall, maybe in like the weeks after, I always started to feel like, I mean, I was scared shitless of these two brothers. But I'll tell you, they never, ever bothered me again. Never had any problems with them, none whatsoever. In fact, in some situations where they were nearby to me, you could say they were rather pleasant, which fucking pisses me off even more. It's like, I don't know why. That really pisses me off. It's almost like I'd expect them to keep being assholes. It's like, why did they take this one moment to do what they did to me and my friend? And now they're just, perfect little kids. So, so let's just say, like, the rest of my childhood after that, I didn't even think about this. You know, I didn't think about anything. It's like it happened and then it didn't happen. It's almost like the hard drive got wiped, completely wiped. And I think, I think, you know, after high school graduation, which was a different high school than this school district we were in, because we moved when I was in 10th grade. And I think basically after like all these years, I kind of just packed it away into a little room, you know, and never really thought about it. And I feel like, looking back now, those years afterwards, I didn't feel like a traumatized person, or like I'd been violated. It was very weird. And I never told anyone. My parents knew, but none of my siblings knew. And it wasn't 2 years later that my siblings found out. But so, you know, fast forward 25 years later. Okay, it's 2010. Um, so, and in 2010, I'd been with my wife for about 15 years and everything. Something happened that like caused me to remember. It was like a flashback or something. I can't remember what the little snap was that made me remember it. Um, Maybe, but thinking back now, it's possible, because that was around the time that I was starting on Facebook and I was making friends and reconnecting with a lot of kids from high school. And actually, I can tell you, one of those one of those triggers was probably one of my siblings who had no idea this had happened to me. They were Facebook friends with one of these brothers. Just kid from the old neighborhood. To the best of my knowledge, these two brothers didn't do anything to any of my family members. But I can tell you this: I've talked to a lot of my friends from that neighborhood now as an adult, all these years later, and there were quite a few females in the neighborhood who say that they were sexually assaulted or raped. Um, People I know. Um, that's not surprising. It really isn't. But now we're 25 years later, and this little trigger happens, and I start having these issues, and it was like, now keep in mind, from the time this happened up until now, around 2010, I've had weight issues all that time, up and down. Um, I would probably say that I kind of got to my heaviest point in that time period. Um, probably probably 1990, 1997, 98. Uh, probably right probably right as my kids were being born. As a matter of fact, in 1999, I know I weighed about 345 pounds, and uh, my weight was going up and down, and I never ever put two and two together that this thing that happened to me might be a huge cause of what my weight was happening to me with my weight. Never even occurred to me. But now of course I see it. Um, it's comfort. Food was comfort for me, and if I had issues or I was tired, I mean, I see it as a direct result of the assault from that day. I didn't recognize it for years, but you know, I know now it's the primary reason for why I got really big. And I would struggle back and forth with my weight for years. So, trauma is real. It's very real, and you don't always recognize it when it happens, or you don't suck it into your head and dwell on it when it happens all the time. But sometimes you just kind of pack it away, like I did. Everyone deals with it differently. Some handle it better. Some never recover. Um, some who are sexually assaulted, they go on to sexually assault others. Um, Thankfully, and I'm very proud to say this, I'm not one of those people. In fact, I've done the opposite. I've become quite an advocate for those who are abused like that. Uh, to this day, I have a visceral hatred for like pedophiles and you know people who sexually prey on other people. Um, there's no place on my tolerance couch for that whatsoever. Um, I would say they rank somewhere between like human feces and rotting corpses, just the worst of the worst. I think pedophiles are worse than like somebody just killing a kid. Like I don't know. I'm not getting into that, but anyway. So at the end of the day, I feel like I've kind of come to grips with what I felt was the cause of a lot of my weight issues. And I had a little depression here and there, but I was never like some ooh, I never had um like a mental illness depression. For me, it was more like, oh, I'm fat, and I never really put the two and two together. But so, this is where I'm pretty sure a lot of my weight issues come from. Now, that being said, I can dive deep into like what it's like for me when it came to eating. Um, for me, it was like, I needed to snack all the time, and you know, part of like growing up, my parents always told me, you finish what's put in front of you. So I always had like an issue with 100% an issue with like, finishing the food that was on my plate. And that continued even after I was 11 years old. So, you know, so I've come to recognize that my weight issues primarily come from this incident when I was 11. And, you know, now, like all these years after 2010, when that happened and it kind of hit me back and, you know, I tried to, okay, I tried to contact the older brother. I sent him messages and I sent him an email because his email was on his public business page and I was able to contact him through that. And I had correspondence with him. It didn't go well. Um, he he blamed me. He accused me. He remembered it differently. He gaslit me and just said, I don't remember it that way. And of course you don't. The people you hurt remember it the way it was. You don't. So that was the end of it. I didn't actually talk to him, but we had two emails back and forth, and then that was it. I haven't. corresponded with him since, and that was oh god, 15 years ago. So um, I'm in a really good place now. I'm in a good place with all this that happened. Um, I guess you can say I'm one of the lucky ones in the sense that uh, it didn't destroy me; it defined me. It's one of the huge defining factors of my life. Um, you know, I went on to meet the love of my life. I got married in 1996. This November, we're celebrating 29 years married together. I have two unfucking believable kids. Um, my son and my daughter. I'm over the moon with them, and I'm so proud of them. And you know, being a good husband and father is is the best revenge you can get for when people like this do what they do. So, on that note, here's what I'd like to say to sum up: is that um, I'm a man who's been morbidly obese my whole life. It's been a crazy fucking roller coaster of up and down, up and down. But I know now where that weight comes from. I'm pretty sure that this was a big thing that caused the weight issues. And, you know, that being said, I can say now, like, as, unsolicited advice maybe to someone out there, if you are, if you're someone who has had any sort of sexual attack or rape or been forced to do something against your will, whatever, I don't care if you're a man, woman, or you're a fucking, if you're a fucking cat, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I would I would venture to guess that you may or may not have had any kind of therapy or anything. I've never had any official therapy for mine, but I'm finding out now that the best therapy for me was being the complete opposite of them. For me, the best way to be therapeutic about what happened is to never even remotely compare myself to them in any way, shape, or form. And I think I've accomplished that. So I would say to you, if you're one of those people who's had this type of assault or rape, um, I would urge you to get some sort of counseling or help, um, and don't let it don't let it destroy you. Destroy it. You have to you have to embrace it and face it, and that's the only way you're going to get rid of it. And I mean, that's a bad word to say. Not get rid of it, but able to live with it in a way where you're content and you're happy to the best that you can be. Because if you don't, it's going to eat you up. It's going to eat you up inside, like a virus. It really will. And I just hope that hearing me tell my story might help you tell your story. So, you know, this episode here is basically kind of just I'm just explaining to you guys where I think I think I know where my weight issues come from, and I'm pretty sure it's this. Some people don't. Some people have weight issues, and they never had any kind of trauma like this or any kind of thing that happened to them when they were a kid. Uh, yeah, some eating is genetic and things, but at the end of the day, I'm doing my best to recognize the the whys, the whens, the hows, and wheres, and you know, I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it. So, on that note, I'm going to get going here. This is episode one, Catalyst. Next week, I will have episode two, and I'll be sure to put that up on everything. And I hope you guys will follow me along on this 5-part series. Um, it's absolutely probably one of the coolest things I'm going to be doing with this whole weight loss journey for myself too, because this is really therapeutic for me as well. Not just because of the sexual abuse, but therapeutic for me to keep me focused on my end goal. And the epiphany part of this podcast is coming up in another episode, and you'll hear what that kind of turnaround for me was, where I started to really take my weight seriously. So, um, on that note, I'd like to say thanks for listening. Um, here in Indiana, Pennsylvania. I am Two-Ton. And follow me on TikTok at Mr. Two-Ton. And I'm also on YouTube at Two-Ton. And if you want to email me, get in touch with me. If you want to chat, recipes, weight loss advice, if you need someone to talk to and just spill your guts, which sometimes is better when you don't actually know the person, TwoTonsAdventures@gmail.com. TWOTONS Adventures. So, on that note, I'm closing out. Thanks for listening. And stay well. I will see you next week. Peace.